This movement will not be silenced. You're listening to The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back to The Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you about one of our partners, a great partner of the show, and who has stood by us through thick and thin over this last month, and that's Refy. Private student loan in this country totals about $300 billion, and about $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed. Refy is here to help you with that. If that's you, go check out Refy. They are not a debt settlement company, and they work with each borrower individually, tailoring each loan to each borrower's specific situation. You will not be calling a faceless call center. Refy does not care what your credit score is. Refy will actually let you skip payments up to every 6 months, up to 12 times without penalty. You don't have to ignore that mountain of student loan statements on your kitchen table anymore. Just call 888 Refy 34 or go to yrefy.com. That's YREFY.com. YREFY.com. They not only can help you with a very tricky situation, they are amazing people. Their values are on point, and they are dear friends of the show and of Turning Point. So support them, support yourself. Go to yrefy.com. All right, so we are going to get to the news. We have a whole rundown of the news, but we just, you know, when we have guests that come from out of town, it's important to talk about the big stuff first. And I think, you know, the big stuff first really is that Charlie is a man of faith, and was a man of faith, and his faith endures. His faith is ignited across the country in his death, and I feel it. You know, it's funny. My mom, God bless her. I always bring up my mom, and people always clip these parts. But she really was loving, you know, the things I was saying, I think. But she was like, you know, I think my first Fox hit, I was just like, I said something like, repent and be saved. Like, that's how you honor awesome. Charlie. And my mom was like, maybe a little less preachy on network news. And I was like, Mom, I love you, but no. And then she's like, you look tired.
If we're not going to preach at this time, when are you going to?
Anyways, we will welcome back radio in about 4 seconds. Don't go anywhere. All right. So, Molly, after you went to the memorial, and we will get to the news. We're going to get to all the news. Don't you worry. But when I listened to a podcast you did, and it was so funny to me because you were like, well, I'm Lutheran, and we don't do these kinds of worship songs, but I loved it anyways, and it was so beautiful. And I was like, all right, so when she comes on, I have to play like one of these like moments that was just so powerful. And then maybe we move on after that or get your reaction. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Please play cut 30.
I know it's not much, but nothing else. Sing it one more time. So I'll throw up my head, praise you again and again. All that I have is a heart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat used to these songs and this style of worship, but it struck me when I heard you talking about it that, you know, that a lot of people probably weren't, and this was a somewhat new experience for them.
Right. So in our church, we do liturgical worship, psalms. We have great hymnody, and I love that. Mm-hmm. So when I walked in and it was praise music, I was like, oh, okay. And by hour 8 or whatever, I was right there singing along with everybody.
What I truthfully didn't know until I went to this was how hypnotic it is, I guess, that they'll just sort of sing the chorus repeatedly so that everyone will get whipped up into it, and then they can easily sing along.
Yeah.
I'm more used to, you know, verse, chorus,
Catholic,
chorus, singing stuff.
Exactly.
So I just, it was different from what I ever had thought how it worked.
And it worked, and to be there with so many people doing that though too was also great. I mean, it was just a and to hear the people speaking and having the cabinet secretaries speak very clearly about the gospel was something usually when a Republican or Democrat politician gets up, they say, oh, in my faith tradition, we believe in a God who loves people. And it's just so, it's like, well, that's true, but you could say so much more. And have Marco Rubio out there clearly professing the gospel it was a really cool experience, and in an appropriate way, because even though he is a politician, this was a memorial service for a Christian.
Yeah, amen. Anything to add to that, Sean?
Yeah, something about seeing the most powerful people on earth proclaim the gospel is amazing, because you think back to Paul in Acts, who understood he was going to be martyred, but on the way he was going to be sent to Caesar. I think he ended up getting sent to him twice. Or arrested twice, the purpose of which was to testify about the power of Christ to the most powerful man on earth at the time. And then so in this instance, we saw Charlie cut down way too early, and the result was the most powerful men potentially in the history of the world proclaiming the saving power of Jesus Christ. It was
in front of other
unthinkable.
powerful men. Sean and I kept praying for Elon while we were there.
Oh, yeah. The whole time. It's
We're
like,
like, we hope Elon's listening.
come on, God, get Elon.
I know. And then he said, forgive us our trespasses. He tweeted that, posted that on X.
He retweeted Erica telling people to go to church.
Yeah.
Or re-X'd, whatever.
Reposted, I think is the proper. Yeah. A couple of emails here from listeners. Aaron, how to move forward. He says, greetings. My emotions are all over the place. Same. Anger and grief over Charlie Kirk being killed. Please teach the audience how to move forward. How?
I think it's kind of clear what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, first and foremost, we're talking about Jesus right now because it matters. And so going to church, being active in your church. But also, for me, I found everything happening here very inspirational. I had been feeling a little tired in my work. We've been doing so much to battle corporate media and the left and even weak Republicans. And when this happened, it just made me realize the importance of what we're doing. It gave me courage to keep going. Everyone can keep doing that, whether it's in your personal conversations or in your work.
Yeah. Michelle says, thank you for playing the gratitude clip. We sang that song the Sunday before Charlie was assassinated, and that song carried me through that week. I am in tears again. Love you, team. Well, thank you, Michelle. We love you, too. We have an amazing audience. If you want to chime in and be a part of the show, freedom@charliekirk.com. Just send us an email. We're going to be checking them as the show goes on. In Charlie's honor. Charlie's the one that taught us to do that, and he would often debate you guys in the middle of the show. He'd just be sitting here. Even while we play a clip, Charlie would just be sending off emails. Was an amazing multitasker.
Incredible. I'm still learning. I'm checking the emails here too, but I'm too wordy with my responses.
Yeah, I know. Because Charlie would go, yes.
I'll respond to one,
wrong.
and then I just see, there's 1,000 more left.
Yeah.
This is not efficient.
Yeah, no, it's great. But we do actually see them all. It's like actually a thing. Somebody on our team is looking at your emails, and so that's in Charlie's honor. We will commit to that. We're going to keep going through the break for the stream and the podcast. More with Molly Hemingway and Sean Davis. All right, we're back. Blake, you got an email.
I want to read one that I saw in the Freedom account last night that I thought was very good. It's from Colleen Floyd. She says, I will soon be 81 years old. I've been to Billy Graham crusades. I follow R.G. Lee, Charles Stanley, Chuck Swindoll, David Jeremiah ever since I was 27 years old. I thought I'd followed the best of those called to deliver the gospel, and I think I have. But I spent time in Proverbs this week, and in reading, especially chapters 2 through 4, I found myself unable to divorce my thoughts from how completely Charlie's life portrayed the wisdom described there. What a stellar example of a truly wise man he was. If there was ever a top 10 or a top 5 of the most productive, inspiring, godly men I followed, Charlie would be at the top. And for his age, I believe he was the most impactful, especially with youth. I pray for the next Charlie, if ever there can be one, who will wave the banner of Christ in such an incredibly profound way as his life and words and examples did. I followed Charlie on YouTube for years, but still feel cheated that I didn't subscribe and listen daily as he grew and the ministry grew with him. What a gift he was to us, to our culture, to our future hope. I only hope that his life and testimony continue to bring young and old to Christ and into the culture he dreamed of reestablishing for next generations as they marry, bear, and rear children to live for Christ. I truly believe he has and will continue to take thousands to heaven with him, and that he will make it as crowded as he devoted his life to make it. Thank you, TPS, Turning Point staff, Charlie's friends, and especially Erica and their children. You all gave him to us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colleen. That was an amazing
beautifully
email.
said. Beautifully said. And by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that Erica has access to the Freedom email, so freedom@charliekirk.com. She's reading them all the time as well. So please keep sending them. And you guys get emails.
We do. Molly and I get very different kinds of emails. We'll be talking through the day, and Molly will say, "Oh, can I read you the best email I've gotten? Dear Molly, you're wonderful and beautiful. You're such a shining light on a hill." And I'm like, "Oh, that's wonderful, Molly. My inbox looks very different. Dear Sean, you should die."
Oh,
That's like 95% of them. And then Molly's like, "Sean, I don't know why you don't, respond to feedback more in your email." I'm like, "Well, Molly, I don't really know how to respond to that. Just no."
Well, I love that during the memorial, when you talked about how he read every email, responded to many of
you
them.
would argue with people in the middle of the show.
But I love reading my email from viewers, listeners, readers, because it gives me insight into how people. So I have to live in Washington, D.C. You all are blessed not to live in Washington, D.C. And the environment there is just there's so much groupthink, and they hate what I'm saying. I love getting feedback from people because you get like really thoughtful responses usually. Sorry.
Cookie crumbled kind of differently for me over here.
Really thoughtful. Pound sand. Except worse. Yeah,
Yes,
it sounds like
exactly.
worse. Yeah.
You have your fans too.
Yeah. I mean, Sean, you have a if you don't follow Sean's X account, you're missing out. It's pretty subdued and very mild, meek and mild.
I'm trying to be less subtle and nuanced. It's one thing I'm working on this year.
Sean lets it fly. And I think that's a really good lead up to, I think, the next story we're going to get to. Well, the first story we're going to get to. And thus begins the news of the day portion of this show. And, I'm just teasing it because we're going to welcome back radio in just a second. We'll have a big, long 13-minute segment to get into it. But Jay Jones is running for attorney general in Virginia, and his texts have leaked where he's threatening, or we're not threatening, he's sort of fantasizing, fetishizing the murder of his political opponents, happen to be Republicans.
After one of them spoke at a funeral for a Democrat and gave a positive eulogy. That's what set him off, and he went volcanic. Actually, they should die.
Well, not only that, but the kids.
The kids.
So this person's kids. So Blake, why don't you prep? We're gonna have you give the audience the play-by-play on how this happened and what we're dealing with here. But as of right now, in a shocking development, somehow the only sane person of the left to say that he should maybe withdraw or be forced to withdraw is Joe Scarborough. This is what it's come to in 2025, that I'm looking to Joe Scarborough to be the guiding light on the left. So we're really at the nadir of the, I don't know what you call this moment, but it's a bad thing. So at least Joe Scarborough is saying something sensible, I guess. So we're going to tell you all about it. We'll be right back with radio in just 1 second.
We will not comply. You're listening to the sound of freedom. It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Andrew Kolvet, executive producer of this show, joined by the great Molly Hemingway and Sean Davis from the Federalist, and Blake Neff is, of course, with us as well. I'm going to tell you about My Patriot Supply. September is National Preparedness Month, so it's the perfect time to ask yourself some questions like, how much food do you have on hand for emergencies? How would you get clean water if the tap went dry tomorrow? What would you do if a storm knocked out your power for a week? If you're anything like me, there's some room for improvement on this stuff. Luckily, our friends at My Patriot Supply are making disaster preparedness easier and more affordable than ever by giving you $1,500 worth of emergency food and preparedness for free. They just launched their Preparedness Month Mega Kit, and it includes a full year of emergency food, a water filtration system that can purify almost any water source, like anything, like your hot tub and whatever, a solar backup generator, and a lot more. And here's the best part. If you go to mypatriotsupply.com/Kirk, you can get 90 preparedness essentials totaling over $1,500 absolutely free. Head to mypatriotsupply.com/Kirk for full details. That's mypatriotsupply.com/Kirk. Okay. Blake, Neff, give us the rundown of this Jay Jones story, and then we're going to have Virginia residents chime in. Well, you're not, but she is.
Yeah. So this is all unfolding in Virginia. This is Jay Jones. He's the Democrat running for Attorney General in Virginia. So chief law enforcement officer.
So like the top
of
cop.
The state. Top cop. And so this is published by National Review last week. It's covering text messages from 2022. What had happened then was a moderate Democrat had died, and there had been a funeral for him, and a Republican, who was also somewhat moderate, had given, a generally positive eulogy at a memorial or the funeral, something like that. And afterwards, Jones sends text messages, and he meant to send this to someone else, Mark. We don't know what Mark yet, I believe, where he's just basically saying, barf, I'm so annoyed at this, positive saccharine stuff, and he says, if I die, they'll say something gross about me. But then, even though he realizes he's been sending this to the wrong person, and in fact it's a Republican in the state legislature, he just starts going off. Let's put up 231. And so he says, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, that's the Republican he's mad at. Hitler and Pol Pot. Gilbert, if you have 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head over Hitler and over Pol Pot.
We do have these images. So,
and 231.
There it is.
And he says, spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time.
Jeez Louise.
And the Republican replies, Jay, please stop. And what's incredible about this is his reaction to this is not to stop or say, oh, sorry, I meant this for someone else. According to National Review, what he proceeded to do was call this woman on the phone. And we don't have that conversation, but according to someone familiar, probably the woman herself, he proceeds to berate her and, push her and say, no, I really mean this. Stop being soft on the death question. And he apparently told her that he wished violence on the children of a colleague and joked about shooting Todd Gilbert. And he hoped that Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. And then after this call, he starts sending follow-up texts where he's still needling her on this and saying, no, you don't get it. When children die, it's the only way that people will change their views on politics. So I actually said on X that I'm somewhat understanding if he was talking to a friend of his and said an extreme thing as a one-off. People say weird things in group text. They say stuff they don't really mean because they're heated and it's private. But he sent a message to someone who didn't agree with it. They said, that's gross. You shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
And he calls them to harangue them for not agreeing this, for being soft on the death of your opponent's children question. And repeatedly did this. We have more. Let's put up 232. He sent additional messages where he said, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. And then 233, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Said all of this. So this has all come out now. And what we've seen is Democrats are basically saying, too bad. He's a Democrat. He should still stay in the race and we should vote for him.
234 is a really important
234.
image.
This is the Virginia Beach Democrats. That is the largest city in Virginia, where they say that they're still supporting Jones despite recent press spotlighting past mistakes. Now, for comparison, because this is relevant, this guy, Jay Jones, publicly called for the resignation of a Norfolk Police Department officer because he donated money to Kyle Rittenhouse's defense fund in 2020.
Yeah.
So donating to support someone who was acquitted after he was attacked
And was
by
in self-defense.
Yeah, in self-defense after being attacked by a literal sex predator in the streets of Kenosha.
A whole mob, but
a whole mob, but specifically the one he shot, and should be fired for donating to that defense. But this guy directly, repeatedly, emphatically fantasizes about the violent death of his opponent's children.
Well, so Molly and Sean, have any Democrats disavowed this guy or denounced him, called for his withdrawal from the race? Or?
Well, I actually did a lot of research this morning when we were prepping for the show, and I put together a list.
Yeah, I'd love
and
to
I've got
see
it
it.
here in my notebook here. So
this is like the Michael Knowles book.
This is the full list of every elected Democrat who has denounced Jay Jones's wishing death upon
we
children.
digitally
and
zoom in
opponents.
on that? 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
I've got really small handwriting.
or-
So sometimes it can be hard to see. Yeah, not one person. Joe Scarborough on MSNBC, I think, is the only public Democrat,
I'm
but
going to
no
get that
actual
clip
elected
ready
one.
just to give him some flowers for actually being like a little bit sane here, which is...
What does that say when Joe Scarborough is your moral North Star?
I think after the election, Joe actually, tried to say, hey, we need to wake up a little bit. I saw some clips, at least.
Andrew, Sean always tells me I'm too nice, and I want to say that to you right now. You're way too nice. This
Well,
guy-
I just, listen, I'm feeling warm feelings that, like, okay, I'm not going to create, like, you should get out of this race, Jay Jones. You should. And at least one person, like, I'm looking for somebody here. It's like John Fetterman sometimes makes me go like, oh, good for him, even though he doesn't vote the right way.
It's actually the opposite. So that letter you showed from the Virginia Beach Democrats, 8 other Democrat committees in Virginia have signed on to that
I
letter.
know.
That letter says, by the way, who among us has not done something similar? And I'm
Who
thinking,
among us has not
really,
called
I've
somebody
never called for the assassination of my political opponents or wished death on their children ever. I mean, it wouldn't even occur to me. But I think they're telling on themselves there when they say this. The reason why everyone's standing behind him and doing so vociferously is because I think we're seeing a party that has kind of fallen into support for left-wing violence. The thing you mentioned, Blake, about him going after that police lieutenant, who I think lost his career, by the way, for that $25 donation to Kyle Rittenhouse, is that it's all in the same package as the support for BLM riots. It's about the breakdown of law and order. It's about using power to go after your political opponents and do so violently. And it's kind of breaking out into the open. It's related to what we saw after the assassination. Was the response to the assassination was almost more horrifying in some ways, realizing that there were so many people who supported this level of political violence against people like me and my children.
Well, I mean, that's really sick because, you guys are, and you're in the D.C. swamp. So you see this. I mean, what bothered me, I'll never forget the most, was where there was a shouting match on the floor of Congress over a moment of silence and a word of prayer. And Ilhan Omar and AOC are getting in there. I mean, I could not believe it. And God bless Anna Paulina Luna for standing up for Charlie. But I was like, can we not have unanimity about political violence? Are we really at that point as a country where some people are like, well, punch a Nazi, it's really taken to the next level, especially in the aftermath of what happened to Charlie? You would think that would be like an aha moment. And instead for some people, it's the exact opposite.
Have you seen those yard signs that people have in their houses that say, in this house, we believe science is for real and whatever?
Yeah.
I saw someone say that the sign should now say, in this house, we believe Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. He receives both bullets every time. Yes, I hope his kids die. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. Republicans are evil. Their children are little fascists.
And remember,
those
this
are
is-
all quotes from the
my
guy.
gosh,
this is the
You can
movement,
see
by
the
the way.
sign right here.
Oh, I
Keep
love
in
it.
mind.
Yeah.
Keep in
Here,
mind.
send me
I
it to us, we can
texted
put
it to you.
Keep in
Yeah.
mind. This is the original version of the sign says, "Kindness is everything."
Right.
There's another tweet from about a year ago that says, when I say, I hate libs, I mean I disagree with them, but I would save them in a flood. And when they say kindness is everything, they mean they want to kill my entire family.
Yeah, it as much as the left loves masks and loves wearing masks, part of their religion, kind of shocking to watch them use Charlie's death as their ultimate mask off moment where they're just decided we're going to let everyone see our true nature here. And Molly's right that what was so disturbing is it wasn't just that they were okay with him being killed, they were not just signaling, but just outright admitting, yeah, we'd kind of be fine if all of you people got killed too. Like it was, and your families and your dogs.
I want to throw up this this image 265. It still horrifies me because this poll was taken September 12th through 15th. So we're within 5 days of Charlie being assassinated. And what you see here is the younger you are and the more progressive you are, the more that you are willing to agree with this statement that violence is justified, in order to achieve a political goal. You see that big outlier on the left, and even candidly, 40 to 59-year-old progressives are like wildly violent. You don't get into some sort of range of normal, I guess. Zero should be the answer. It should be the answer, but you don't get into some range of normal until you're 60 plus as a progressive, apparently. But that terrifying node on that graph should send chills down your spine.
Okay, so I remember like 20 years ago, you started seeing polls showing that you would poll campuses and they would say, we don't support free speech anymore. And I would always talk with these people in Washington, D.C., and they say, oh, don't worry about it. When they get older, that's just the campus, radicals and activism. And when they get out in the real world, then it will be much better. And instead, what happened is those people got out of school and they started incorporating these ideas into corporations, which are involved in horrific censorship, in these cultures at corporations that are very hostile to free expression and debate. And it's just been a very bad situation. I'm not shocked to see this go this way because that's what happens with censorship.
Yeah, it starts with censorship. It moves to destruction of statues, and it always ends with the murder of people every time. That's why you have to fight the censorship.
But Sean, we've never tried communism before. Not the right way. It's never been
true. Communism's never been tried.
And by the way, Charlie used to always say, he said, what happens on campus doesn't stay on campus. It goes to corporations, boardrooms, and the halls of Congress. And man,
correct.
Has he been proven right? All right, more with Molly Hemingway and Sean Davis. We will be right back.